Alright, hi. My name is Richard On, and I'm hoping I can do this in one take because I have to teach in 9 minutes. So we'll see. Today I want to talk about this little piece of music, which has some interesting performance practice questions involved in it. So it's a couple of bars of 3/8 and then one bar of 4/6. The 3/8 poses not much of a problem by itself, but transitioning from that into the 4/6 is a little bit tricky. So let's talk. Let's talk about how you would even figure out what a 4/6 bar is. If you're not used to playing contemporary music, maybe you don't see this very often, but it really works the same way as any other time signature. So let's break this down. What are we doing when we read time signatures in general? We're taking a unit, 1/1, or a whole note, dividing it by a certain number, and then multiplying it by another number. So let's say we have a bar of 4/4. What are we really doing there? We're dividing it by the bottom number, we're taking a whole note, splitting it into 4, and then playing that unit 4 times, in this case 4 quarter notes. If we have a bar of 3/4, we have that same unit of quarter note, but we're playing it 3 times, which would be 75% of a whole note. If we have a bar of 5/4, then we're playing that 5 quarter notes, which would be 125% of a whole note. Now, why is this important? It's important to know because the method for finding any of these strange time signatures like 4/6 is the same. Let's take the same unit of a whole note, divide it into 6. What do we get? We have quarter note triplets. Before we finish that example, let's do some other examples. What do we get if we have, let's say, something over 20? We have 16th note quintuplets. What do we get when we have something over 14? We have 16th note septuplets or 8th note septuplets, depending on the way that your notational practice tells you. We don't have to get into that now. But the point is, all you have to do is divide a whole note by the lower number, and then you have the unit to base yourself off of. So then we take that, whatever you get. In this case, if we're looking at 4/6, a quarter note triplet, and multiplying that by the top number. In this case, it's 4, so this bar of 4/6 is really the same as 4 quarter note triplets. And if you think about the math of that, it's a little more than 2 beats, 2 quarter note beats. To be specific, it's 2 2/3 of a beat. Why is it written this way, and what is the alternative? Well, if you wanted to continue this in triplets, quarter note triplets, and then just keep it over 4, then we're getting into these strange fractional time signatures. If you were to take this bar 4/6 and to put it over 4, it would be 2 2/3 over 4, which, if you ask me, isn't really that much better than 4/6. So, how do we play this 4/6? Well, it's really just 4 triplets. You find the quarter note pulse of the music that was happening before. Let's say if the quarter note is 120, then you just find triplets off of this. Ta 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 ta. But the trickiness from this comes from the fact that there is no complete bar of quarter notes. Because we have 2 2/3 quarter notes, keeping the pulse of quarter notes underneath becomes inadvisable. If I were to try to play 4 quarter note triplets in a row, ta 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 ta, the last beat that I snap on my fingers is 2/3 of a beat, which I don't have enough of an internal clock to determine that is correct. So what I would do in this case is, assuming that I know the quarter note pulse from the previous music, is to find the triplet for the first 3 beats and then just continue on that pulse. So turning this into triplets, ta 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 ta. What I do is I abandon the idea of keeping a quarter note pulse and I just continue on that triplet feeling. So if I were to play the 3/8 bars before and then continue, I would do ta 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 ta. Another tip I have for this is 3/8 is a little bit of a tricky place for you to get a quarter note pulse from. So because this music has some amount of regularity before the 4-6, I would take the last two bars of 3-8 and turn it into a 3-4 bar. You don't have to write this down or change the score. I just do it in my brain. So instead of playing ta 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 ta, I would play ta 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 ta. One more time. Instead of doing ta 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 ta, I would do ta 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 ta, because then the underlying pulse is still those quarter notes. Then I'm easily able to transition from that quarter note pulse into the triplet feeling of the 4-6, and then continue that while abandoning my quarter note pulse. Ta, ta, one more time. Ta, 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 ta. I'll do that one more time. Ta, 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 ta. Yeah. And a way for you to verify with yourself that this is correct is to also check the tempo. If the pulse of the quarter note is quarter note equals 120, then you know by dividing and multiplying that the pulse of the triplets should be new quarter note equals 180. If you play that with the metronome and check the time with yourself, then you'll soon be able to understand that pulse without checking that. Yeah, that's it. And then all you have to do is figure out how to play those notes, which I don't think I need to do that for a pianist who's playing this kind of music. These time signatures are not scary. I think they're cool. And the only thing I disagree with here is that the quarter notes in the 4-6 bar are sort of visually confusing. It makes it look like it's continuing on the same quarter note pulse when it's definitely not. These quarter notes are actually 2/3 faster than these quarter notes here. What I might do, but to change that, is to just do a triplet bracket on top. But again, some people might say that that's redundant. It's just sort of a circular argument, and no one has really convinced me of either one being the correct answer. But that's okay. All right, that's it.